Dun, 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 dun. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Bum, 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 bum. What's up, party people in the house?
What up, though?
Welcome to Axis Live, one of the sexiest voices in the SFL,
Mr. Master.
Dave Axis. Hey, what's up, party people of the SFL? Welcome and thank you for tuning in to season 16, episode 4 of Axis Live. I'm your host, Dave Axis, and what a show we have for you tonight. We had exciting games this weekend. We have another great panel with us this evening to break them down and recap all the excitement from week 2 in the SFL. We will, of course, as always, have the smartest man in the SFL with Gunny and his pearls of wisdom tonight. We'll have our week 2 Diva of the Week nominees from the panel, from myself, from Eagle Wink, and Gunny. And we have another special guest in Access After Dark. We have Mr. Nelson Lozano joining us to close out tonight's show. So that's what we got going on. Welcome to the show. Let me check out the party people here. Let's see, who are the party people in the house tonight? Wink, real quick, by the way, I don't have a screen, just so you know, FYI. Let me see. Who's in the house? Looks like Harish was the first one in. Will Todd's here. Bullet Bolesky. Chris Lee's in the house. The Riddler's back. Freddie, of course. Excuse me. Boomberry. Optimus Klein is here. Optimus, good to see you. Ralgar Law is here. He's having a great rookie season already. Bob Funk is in the house. Nate Hall. Robert Garrett Jr. Frank the Franchise Wade. Van Lacey's with us. Tyler Falk, of course. The lovely and amazing Pink Lisa's in the house, as always. Thank you, baby. Who else? Jason France, Viva La France is here. CB12, the no-named quarterback, is with us. Who else is in the house? Winkler, of course. Bearded Android is here. Doug Britton's here. Tom Rahman's in the house. Who else? We got Alien Nation's back. Max Jackson. Hackers here. Uh, Deep Say is here. Did I say Max Jackson already? I did. I think that's pretty much everybody that I see. All right, you guys ready? Let's get this party started. I'm actually gonna change one quick thing here. I'm gonna pop this bad boy out and I'm gonna move it up here so I can see it better. There we go. All right, let's meet tonight's panel and see who's here. Oh, Ray just snuck in. Ray, how you doing, sweetie? Good to see you. Glad you're here. All right, so in the unscripted circle tonight, we have a man who needs no introduction on this show. Mr. Frank the Franchise Wade is back with us. Frank, what's going on? What's up? How you doing?
Always a pleasure, Dave. Man, I'm doing great.
Awesome. Glad to have you back, bro.
Thank
Hey,
you.
how's your soccer team doing?
Soccer team, we find out tomorrow where and when we play in the playoffs, first round.
Awesome. For those of you who don't know, Frank coaches high school soccer, and his team is in the state playoffs. So, Frank, good luck to you and your team, bro.
Appreciate it.
You got it. All right. In the unfiltered circle this evening, it is the sexy voice, sexy man, sexy tight end calendar cover man, the whole 9 yards, and SFL commentator, Mr. Benji Matson's with us. Benji, how you doing?
What's up, Dave and friends and people that are partying, chat, friends. All right, good talk.
And people who aren't your friends.
Yep.
All right, Benji. Thanks, bro. Welcome back. All right. In the unedited circle this evening, as I'm seeing more people pull in real quick. Truce Man 21's here. Greg Soto made it. Good to see you guys. Glad you guys are in the party tonight. In the unedited circle, the VP of everything that is our rival, the Fort Worth Toros, Mr. Robert Garrett Jr. is here. Robert, what's up? Where's your cowboy hat, bro? No hat tonight?
No, I got a hat, the cowboy hat. I got to get it cleaned up. Had a little bit too much fun with it after the game on Sunday. But
Okay.
I brought an extra hat for special occasions. So here we go.
There you go. Oh, hey, can we censor him, bro? We need to Winkler, censor that crap right now. Damn you, Robert Garrett Jr. That's cold, bro. That is cold. All right. I bet Harish is loving. Yeah, Harish already saying LOL. Alien Nation, LOL, unbelievable. Oh, Kendra Hall's here. Kendra, good to see you, sweetie. Glad you made it. Yeah, I don't. Robert, this is Robert's last show. Wink, make a note, FYI. All right, and as always, whenever he's here on the show, he is in the unforgettable circle because not only is he unforgettable, but also all of his predictions are unforgettable. He is the host of NETMA. He is the #1 overall draft pick this season. It is Mr. Tyler Falk in the unforgettable circle. Tyler, what's up, bro?
The brick game is strong with Benji Matson. So I'm doing well.
With that one.
Yes,
I
I'm
can't
doing
wait.
well, Dave.
Hey, Thursday Soto's going to be on, so I can't wait to see what Soto's going to bring. I wonder if he's going to bring his brick game with him.
There we go.
There you go. There you go. Let's see. Anybody else just jump in? Look like a couple people. All right, let's just jump right into this. Let's get this party started. We had a bunch of games. We're going to try to shorten up the for those of you watching and listening. We're going to try to shorten up our recaps and previews as we've been going a little long these first few shows trying to figure out how to do this video format. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we can do it. If not, hopefully you'll stick around and listen to us. Joey Schwint just popped in. Joey, good to see you, bro. Let's kick things off with Frank the Franchise Wade. Frank, first game of this weekend, week 2, kicked off LA, traveling to Houston. Now, I'm going to remind everybody of something real quick, Frank, before you start. The numbers you see up there are from what we call the AP poll, the Axis poll. If you guys remember the graphic last week, we have teams sliding up and down the poll the whole 9 yards, right? And that's the numbers you're going to see. So the numbers you see on Tuesday shows will be what they were when they played this past weekend. We will have the new numbers on Thursday, but the numbers going forward are now going to include a culmination of the Axis poll, Slin Shady's power rankings, and Jack's data, their current rankings, not their 1 to 4 seasons or their complete history ones. I've asked Hunter to give me just the current ones. Now he will still be releasing his that has all 3, but on the show we're just going to take that one and we are going to take an average of those 3 polls and then we'll have our new numbers. Another side note on Jack's data, quick apology to Hunter and Jack. I used the wrong word last show. I think I said it was convoluted. I think I meant complicated. I didn't mean to throw any shade at Jack's data, as we love them and we use their data on the show all the time. I just want to make sure that people understand that what we were trying to do on the show was just for the current stuff. And so Hunter and I had a talk, and we've decided he's still going to post his stuff, obviously, like he always does. But for show purposes, he's going to give us his current. We're going to take Slin Shady's current. We're going to use the Axis poll current. And then we'll take an average of the 3 polls, and those will be our new power rankings on the show. That will start on Thursday. So just to give you a heads up on that. So back to this, Frank. LA, kind of a new, they're a new team, but they're not an expansion team. They have the benefit of carrying over a lot of players from Chicago, traveling to Houston, who had a rough week 1, and now they've had a rough week 2. Tell me about this game and how. Looking at the score, it looks like LA was dominant, but when you look at the stats, it doesn't really seem that way.
Well, I'm gonna try to be upbeat and positive, but I feel for guys like Brody Gulch, Wolf Justice, Ethan Kai, DR Sim. Starting off 0-2 is not fun. I can tell you that. Who would have thought LA would have been 2-0 to start the season? But I stated earlier how I like Tom Rahm and how he built this team. Defensively, LA didn't get any pressure on E.T. King, but they did pick him off 5 times. Rochelle Colston started off the frenzy. Ryan Yosef, Mike Scott added to the total. But it was Peanut Say had to outdo them all with his first 2 interceptions of his young career, taking 175 yards for a touchdown. Buddy Blades led the team with tackles with 10. My old teammate, LZ Pryor from Vegas, had a great game, catching a tip pass for the first score of the game. 55-yard catch. He ended up with 134 yards on 8 catches and 1 touchdown. Davius Reed put up 75 yards on 7 catches. Jumping Jack Flash had a 64-yard touchdown catch and run just when Houston thought they were getting back into the game. Rob Ems was 3 for 3 with the field goals, and his longest was 49. Sully Richardson, 324 yards passing. on 25 completions, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, though. His counterpart, E.T. King, was 23 of 38 for 270 yards, 5 interceptions, like I said earlier. Warren Murray is the 6th all-time in rushing yards with over 9,000 yards. He played the whole second half with a broken finger and put 86 yards on 22 carries. D.R. Sims, bad Leroy Brown, they were in the mix of getting the team right back in the direction of closing the gap of this game. But it was Kyle Fenimore that had the lone touchdown for them. Brody Gulch, he keeps racking up the tackles. He had 6 this week, plus interception. Wolf Justice causing havoc in the backfield. Ethan Kai got his 500th tackle. Roger Law, the long arm of the law, got his 2nd career interception. But that was not enough to keep Los Angeles from being victorious in this game.
Yeah, Law has been playing great. He's had 2 amazing first games as a rookie. Side note, real quick, Frank, we were talking about Benji's and Greg's brick game. People in the chat now talking about your wood game with your wood background. What's up with your background?
Whoa,
Is that a wall? Or why are people
curtain.
talking about your wood, Frank?
I know. Morning Wood Lumber Company. You've heard of them. No, this is curtains. These are my curtains.
See, I told you guys curtains? It was gold curtains.
Well, I was like, because I don't know if you guys can see back here. I've got a wood door. Frank's got the wood. Benji's got brick. Gray's got brick. We could have had some like wood on brick action going on or something. I don't know. But so as you watch this game, Frank, and this is the only question I'm going to ask you. We're going to move on. Why is Houston 0-2 after the first 2 games?
I don't know. Defensively, they're getting the pressure on the game. For one, in this game right here, was the turnovers. They did have a chance to close that gap, and then I think that was the play when Jack Flash caught the long touchdown pass. Somehow he was behind the whole defense. I didn't see what defense they were in, but there wasn't a guy within 5-10 yards of him. He caught that pass, and they couldn't catch him when he took off. The turnovers to me is what's doing them in.
Would you call LA the surprise team in the season so far?
I want to say yes, but I mean, Tom did a good job, and Rochelle Colston did a good job of putting this team together. A lot of good free agents, guys coming over from Chicago. They drafted well. I guess you can say, yeah, they're surprised, but I'm not. It's what's the word I'm looking for? I could see it coming.
Oh, okay. Well, Jack's data had this game of the over/under at 48.5, so they were within about 5 points of that. LA was favored by 6.5, so they covered, which was great. And in the Who You Got SFL Nation, we took LA by almost 100 votes, 164 to 66. So we started out the gate week 2 after a phenomenal week 1 at 1-0, moving into game 2, which is one I don't really want to talk about that much, Benji. Lone Star at Carolina. Lone Star had an amazing week 1 game. Carolina didn't, but none of that seemed to matter going into week 2.
Yeah, there's some crazy results, I think, across the board in week 2 when you're trying to take a look, comparing teams from week 1 to week 2 this season. And I don't know what that is about in the league. I know there's some talk about the legend setting, how that's changing things, but we saw a lot of results in week 1, and many of us heading into week 2 thought we were so certain that some teams in the league would perform well. We thought for sure we'd be looking at a couple teams that might be 2-0, like the Lone Star Glory, heading into this matchup. And it wasn't just this game. There were a number of games of week 2 that lead me to believe that we don't really know what to expect out of a number of teams in the SFL here so far in season 16. This was a hard fought game between these 2 clubs. I think the stats are kind of really close here. In the first half, Lone Star Glory could only manage 2 field goals, whereas Carolina was able to put 2 touchdowns on the board. 14-6 didn't sound like too much of a deficit at halftime, but there were only 8 total drives in that first half. Carolina was putting some big drives together and finishing them with touchdowns. They had a passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown in the first half. Because Carolina was converting, and Lone Star was forced to kick a couple field goals right off second half. the same thing happened. Lone Star got the ball to start the second half. We thought, okay, here we go. Adjustments after halftime. We're a good team. Yeah, we're on the road, but we can put this together. And they had the punt right out of the gate. Halftime, give that ball back to Carolina. On Carolina's next drive, kick a field goal, get the ball back to Lone Star. They fumble. Carolina picks that up again. Another field goal. It was only 2 field goals instead of touchdowns, but still that deficit starts to increasing. And Lone Star just was unsettled the rest of that half, and couldn't close that gap. They finished that game 17-30. They played great defense still, I thought. They really held Carolina in check, even I was going to say the running game, but for Carolina, we're so used to Logan Jack doing tons of damage out of the backfield. He only caught 5 receptions, only had 19 yards receiving out of the backfield, 66 yards rushing. So Lone Star put the clamps on Logan Jack for Carolina. So it was just a kind of a really an odd game. I kind of watched it kind of thinking, based on what I saw in week 1 and what I thought in long Lone Star Glory is a great team, that they're going to flip the switch here, that they're going to turn it on at some point in this game. And Carolina just kind of stopped that from happening. They won that time of possession battle, although it was close. Bested Lone Star Glory on third down percentage there.
Yeah.
And just, I guess when it counted early in that game, they made touchdowns where Lone Star Glory had to kick field goals.
Yeah, third down percentage might have been the difference in the game. I mean, it looks like we outpassed them, we outrushed them. We had more first downs. Time of possession, like you said, was close. Only one more turnover, but that third down possession or conversion rate, 18%. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the lowest we've seen in this league in quite a while, Benji.
Yeah, an odd game. I think that Carolina, though, at home did play well. Xander Gold had a solid game, 24 for 28, an 85% completion percentage. They're only threw for 184 yards, but 2 touchdowns, only threw 1 interception. So just really took care of the ball. Carolina on offense did what they needed to do, took care of the ball, kept Lone Star Glory uncomfortable and at bay. So kudos to them for the big victory at home.
Yeah. Harish saying in the chat, we clamped down in the red zone. That you did, Harish. Congrats on that win. Jack's Data had this over under at 52.5. There were 47 points in this game, which is pretty close. They had us favored by 7.5, which I agreed with at the time, but apparently that didn't go our way. And we actually mimicked or mirrored that LA Houston game in the Who You Got SFL Nation, almost or over 100 votes more for Lone Star, 165-64, which means SFL Nation 1-1 to start off week 2 on Saturday. Robert Garrett Jr., moving on to you and your ridiculous hat you're wearing tonight. Interesting thing that Benji said. Lone Star's one of the teams was so impressive in week 1. You're assuming they're probably going to be 2-0 in week 2. Is that what we thought about Jacksonville? And did they just run into a really ticked off Florida team?
I don't know that we really thought that about Jacksonville compared to some of the other teams that really blew it out of the water week 1 and looked great. Jacksonville, obviously a threat in this league, really no matter what. But I think the big thing that came down to this is, as you said, Florida was mad. They were ready to come into it. And it is a big divisional matchup game. And I think what we've seen from this game is this division is going to be fun. And that's already been talked about a few times. Jacksonville, Florida stats pretty much the same. Jacksonville 212 passing yards to Florida's 254. Jacksonville had a little bit less rushing yards as well, and then outside of that, Jacksonville got the game going in the air. Christian Christensen 27-34, 212 yards and a touchdown, also 2 interceptions. But I think the biggest problem for them is they just couldn't get Jared Willis going in this game. Yeah. 17 carries, 47 yards, just under 3 yards per carry. And for an offense like Jacksonville, that's just not going to work.
What a difference between week 1 and 2 for him, night and day, for sure, for Jared Willis. It'll be interesting, as you look at the rankings on this, the power rankings on this, Jacksonville 4, Florida dropping to 17 after their loss to Lone Star. I have a feeling Jacksonville may drop a little bit, but after this impressive win, I wouldn't be surprised to see if Florida really jumps up. Last thing, Robert, in addition to this being a divisional game, this is a long time standing rivalry anyway. So anytime these two teams play, can you really call it ahead of time and know who's going to win?
Oh yeah, for sure. Any rivalry game, it's always a toss-up because both teams are putting their all into the game, even more so than some other games necessarily. I know coaching staffs hit each game hard as they should, but these rivalry games really come down to the wire, and it takes all the planning in the world.
Yeah. Jack's Data had this game at 51.5 on the over-under, only 27 points scored, more of a defensive game. Had Jacksonville favored by 3.5. They did not cover. And I don't know what to tell you, SFL Nation. We go to 1-2. Same issue, 172 to 52. The first three games, all around 100 or more votes for one team over the other, and SFL Nation losing two of those three in the Who You Got. All right, moving on to Game 4. Queen City at St. Louis, Game 4 on Saturday. This was a hard one to call, Tyler. You know, both teams close in the power rankings. Queen City had that victory at home. St. Louis, I think they won their first game on the road, if I'm not mistaken. So I think people were giving maybe the slight edge to St. Louis, the slightest of edges, and that's really kind of how the game went.
Yeah, that's exactly how the game went. And for the second straight week in a row, cardiac Christian Brown comes to the rescue after throwing 3 interceptions in the first 3 quarters, comes and leads the St. Louis Gladiators down the field, him and Phil Koss on a tight end out route play that I probably saw ran at least 3 times consecutively to end the drive, which ended up being in a touchdown for the Gladiators to end up tying that football game late in the fourth quarter. So there are some definite concerns when it comes to the reliability of Christian Brown at times. But if he can do that back-to-back weeks and continue to be the comeback kid, CB12's got a bright future in St. Louis, and St. Louis has a bright future going forward.
Yeah, he's being labeled as the no-name quarterback now because somebody forgot his name in chat or something. Now everybody's reminding him, and he's reminding the entire league with the way he plays. Do you see much movement for these teams moving in the power rankings after this? Or do you think that because it was such a close game, we knew it was going to be a close game, they were already ranked close, that'll probably be, stay around the same?
I mean, I'll come out with my official power rankings tomorrow. I think as far as both these teams in general don't deserve to move, too crazily. We're not going to see either team jump, 10 spots based on the win. But at the same time, St. Louis could move up a place or two, and Queen City might move down a place or two. But both teams played fairly well for the most part. I mean, 7 interceptions combined between AJ Caswell and Christian Brown, so there's definitely some ball security issues. But at the same time, both teams, I think, played very well.
Well, cardiac Christian Brown has a name now. Last quick question, Tyler. Did Eagle and Wink do anything at all, or do they suck?
I did see Eagle make a couple of nice plays. He wasn't flying like he was in Portland.
Not like Game 1, yeah.
No, and he wasn't falling with style either. He was making, some conservative catches here and there. But Winkler, he did what he needed to do from a safety spot. No pass deflections, 5 tackles, 4 assisted, so total of 9 tackles. So very active.
Only the probably the most crucial tackle of the game to stop QCC from a first down with like a minute to go. No big deal though.
No big deal.
Art Vandalay in the chat. Well, he's no Elsie. That's true. And Eagle, I could see. I guess Eagle is listening. I see. He's like, ha ha ha, very funny. Let's see. Jack's Data had this game over under a 44.5. So with 43 points, they nailed it there. And they had St. Louis favored by 3. I mean, I mean, what a perfect game for Jack's Data. Unfortunately, SFL Nation, this trend continues, and we now have a 3-game losing streak. 152 to 75. We took Queen City on the road at St. Louis, and we move to 1-3, starting off week 2 after a phenomenal week 1, which brings us to game 5 on Saturday. What I talked about on Thursday being one of the games of the week potential, and I think it lived up to its potential, Frank, with Arizona winning the game on a last-second field goal by 3 points.
Oh, this game was very exciting. You started off, First of all, Arizona is coming in 0-1. They need the win. Traveling to Charleston, tough place to play. Charleston starts off with a bang. Their second play from their first series, we hit a 52-yard touchdown pass from TD Drew to Buchanan Simons. Keith Swearingen had a highlight run where he broke several tackles on a 39-yard run. If it wasn't for a touchdown saving tackle, he's opening that up. And it looks like it's looking pretty bad for Arizona. 13 points for the Charleston Predators in the first quarter. Drew would end up with 21 completions, 287 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, though. Simons would finish for 8 catches, 168 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Swearingen 100 yards rushing. Everything's looking good for Charleston in that first quarter. Then the second quarter hits. I guess they forgot that you got to play 4 full quarters, and they became almost non-existent. Their offense became almost non-existent in that second quarter. Arizona scores 21 points. The Hands brothers, they go off, scoring a touchdown each. Donnie had 8 catches for 111 yards. James had 8 catches for 119 yards. They become the first sibling duo to surpass 10,000 yards. Arizona, like I said, scored 21 points. DJ Moses, 66 yards rushing, not much there, but it was Ashley Jackson, had 279 yards on 24 completions, 2 touchdowns, but most importantly, no interceptions.
Yeah.
Joey Tropicana, BJ Lovelace, combined for 15 tackles, started to gain control of the Predators' offense. Bernard Smith, the fourth, got his second interception of his rookie season. And Iverson Gamble, 2 weeks in a row, pick 6, has helped this team out tremendously.
Yeah, I'm looking back real quick to week 1, and we talked about DJ Moses. I want to get DJ Moses only had 46 yards in their week 1 loss to Baltimore, which was a close game. And we talked about the difference needing to be that even when he doesn't rush, if AJ steps her game up, they're going to be in the game. Well, what happened? What happened in week 2? DJ Moses still only rushes for 60 something yards, but AJ doesn't throw a single pick, and they win the game by 3. Is this going to be, as AJ goes, Arizona goes kind of season for them, Frank?
I mean, Moses is going to step up at some point. He's going to step up at some point. Ashley, unfortunately, there's interceptions all in this league. She's going to throw interceptions, but it's one complements the other. It's going to happen. DJ Moses is going to break through at some point, and it might be that game where Ashley's struggling. One thing I wanted to point out is that Eddie Gage. We talk about him as being this defensive-minded guy. He's real good. He sims all the time. He knows the ins and outs, and he started calling the plays on both sides and all that. But his off-season moves this off-season have really paid off with Everett Garrison. The signing of Larry Legatron Barr was, in my opinion, one of the biggest moves of the off seasons that he did, because of the fact that Barr hits the walk-off home run, a 50-yarder. It was his 4th field goal of the day, and that's what finished the Predators off.
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, I called in the offseason, TJ Punk was probably one of the best free agent signings, because that's going to open up AJ's passing game, and they got like AJ, CJ, DJ, EJ. They got pretty much every J over there as it is anyway. So Arizona at Charleston, Jack's data had this over under 52.5. It was pretty close to the 10-point threshold that we talk about. Had Charleston favored by 7.5. Obviously, they did not cover, but SFL Nation, we get back in the win column 120 to 113, which was, I think, the second closest. Who you got this week? We took Arizona over Charleston. Moving on to the last game on Saturday, game 6, which, again, maybe one of the more intriguing games, right? 2 teams near the bottom of the power rankings. Both teams taking losses in week 1. Maybe some people thinking Tulsa, Benji, might have the slight advantage playing at home, but Portland came to play and walked out of there with a double-digit victory. Oh, you're muted, bro. Is Benji muted?
You're muted, bro.
You're
No.
No,
Yeah, I was totally muted. My bad.
no
Total rookie
worries.
move.
No worries, bro. You know, if somebody doesn't do that, then I don't get to say it on the show, and I got to keep saying
There you
it.
go.
So there you go.
Yeah, Portland won. That's exciting. I like Portland. Um, if I would have told you, of course, you got the stats, but they're on the screen. We'll go it this way. Which one of these teams punted the ball 9 times? Who would you think punted the ball 9 times in this game?
I would probably think Tulsa.
Right? Only 16 minutes of possession, right? Obviously. Nope. Portland. Portland punted the ball 9 times.
Well, more possessions, right?
They almost doubled up this time of possession down there. That's incredible. Portland played great defense actually on the road against Tulsa, um, limiting them especially on the ground game. Sanzo Robinson, you think at home he's gonna find some room to run. They're gonna lean on him. He's gonna have a great game. He's gonna be one of the keys to victory for Tulsa. It was one of the keys to victory for the Fleet. They hold him to 29 rush yards, which I think was one of the telling stats here. I think we also see 4 turnovers by the young JQ, throwing those. Let's see, throw 4 interceptions by JQ on the day. I think that's a lot. That's a big hole that Tulsa put themselves in, and they just couldn't find the right way to dig themselves out. The game started super slow, 6 punts to start this thing off, so it was a punt fest to get started, and the scoring started slow, of course, with Portland kicking a couple field goals. Portland then runs an interception return back for the touchdown. Mr. Shot Allen had himself a game.
Yeah, he did.
3 interceptions on the day for that Fleet defense, and took one of those to the house. That was a huge play. 13 points right off the bat for Tulsa. Tulsa does put 13 or 10 points on the board at halftime, 13-10. But right out of the gate, Portland uh, goes on a quick little tear, 50-yard pass on a short drive. They hold Tulsa to a field goal, kind of back and forth like that. Um, and then Portland, of course, finishes out on top 30-20. I thought some of those stats were incredible. Just that time of possession, Tulsa punting 9 times, but intercepting or Shot Allen 3 interceptions himself. Portland in total intercepting JQ and Tulsa 4 times. And then you see some of the stats. JQ did throw 2 touchdowns and threw them both to Gabriel Manning. Gabriel Manning had almost 150 yards on 8 catches. So Gabriel Manning did what he does. He got his.
Yep.
But if this was a 2-headed dragon in Tulsa, maybe they're saying, well, we can't have Gabriel Manning get his, but then Sansa Robinson also dominate on the ground. So I don't know if there was an effort made on the part of Tulsa or Portland, I'm sorry, to shut down one of these 2 guys. But they just put the clamps on the running game. Sansa Robinson couldn't get anything done, forced JQ to pass. 47 pass attempts by JQ, only converted on 25 of those, so just over a 50% completion percentage. 2 touchdowns to Gabriel Manning, but 4 picks. So I think Portland on the road playing great defense, which we know about them. We've kind of assumed about Portland, that they're going to play great defense, whether on the road or at home. And they did it here. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Matt South had a decent game. He completed 68% of his passes, only threw for 180 yards, but that's all he really needed to do. Our man, Art Vandele, had a great game. 8 catches, $100 right on the nose, and a touchdown for him, including a long bomb, about a 50-yarder. So he had a great game. Gene Valentine, 6 receptions himself and 55 yards. So Portland did what they had to do on offense to complement their great play on defense. I will give a shout out to my love me some tight ends, and a good shout out to Jason France, who had himself a great game here as well, picking up 6 receptions for 90 yards. And so congratulations to him. He was well targeted in that game for Tulsa, and I think he's going to continue to develop and be a great weapon on the offensive side of the ball there for JQ. But I say hats off to Portland on a great game, well played.
Yeah, Shot Allen with the 3 picks was amazing. Take one back for the house, or to the house. Somebody said something in the chat that made me want to ask you a question. Yes, Eddie Gage, I agree. I should get some T-shirts that say you're muted, bro. And yes, if you haven't bought a What Up Doe T-shirt at Sector 6, you should go get one. Yeah, I can't find it now, but JQ, what a difference from week 1 to week 2. He did, he had that. He had that. I mean, he not a great game, but he had that drive near the end of the second half. I thought that was really good. But when you look at the stats, I mean, that was the difference, right? The 4 turnovers is the difference of the game because Tulsa outgained him in every other category except that and third down percentage.
Yeah, Tulsa or Portland did what they needed to do with those turnovers. It wasn't a flashy output on offense for them, but their defense really supported and led the way. So in this game, their offense lifted up the defense. The offense supported them. The offense put the ball in the end zone, put the ball through the uprights. And that's because the defense really, I mean, anytime you get extra chances in the SFL, 4 turnovers is hard to come in the SFL. Anytime you look at a game, there's a turnover differential of more than 2 in the SFL. I would say more often than not, you are going to lose that game when you are down 2 in the turnover differential. And here, poor Tulsa,
Yeah.
down 4 turnovers in a game in the SFL is just super tough to overcome.
Yeah, it is. Jack's data had this game over under at 41.5, so that's within the 10-point threshold with them scoring 50 points. They had Portland favored by 2.5, which they covered. SFL Nation back on the losing track. We took Tulsa 130 to 103 to go 2-4 on Saturday after an amazing week 1. We're going to get to Sunday's games in a moment, but let me see if Gunny's around anywhere. Gunny, you still here?
From the halls of monsters.
Is Gunny here? Wink. Did Gunny leave us? Oh, Gunny, you're muted, bro. I see your microphone's muted. Do anybody know what happened to Gunny? Did somebody get Gunny?
Dave.
Oh, there you go. Oh, and look at Ray Ray on the ball with the Halls of Montezuma. It's kind of like the Halls of Maple, but completely different. Also, real quick, Chad, yes, to answer your question, Raider Nation, baby. And Art Vanderlei knows all about that. So there you go. Gunny, we are ready to go whenever you are.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
We did the home field advantage for in between the first 2 weeks of the season. Home wins, 14 games, and away wins are 10. So out of 24 games, that's 4 home wins, and the away teams won 10 times. So far this season, 2 home games have been played by Baltimore and Atlanta. 3 teams have played both their games on the road, and that's Fort Worth, Mexico City, and Arizona. The highest point total out of 2 games is by Vancouver with 93 points. And second place would be Atlanta with 67. Lowest point total scored in 2 games, the DC Dragons and the Sioux Falls Sparrows with 10. Lowest points against in 2 games will be Denver. They've only given up 7 points. And the highest points given up in 2 games would be Tulsa with 74. And with that, Dave, that is the shortened version of Gunny's Pearls of Wisdom. Back to you, and that is all.
Awesome, Gunny. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. Also in the chat, yeah, I guess, thank you, Nelson. I guess that's 2 muted bros. I guess we're keeping count. Axis multitaskers. That's hilarious. And yes, Eagle Halls of Maple. I was going to have to say that. Let's see. Moving on to Sunday's games now. On Sunday, we started off with another game that was very interesting. We have a Mexico City team that did not play well in week 1 against a London team, that came out the gate with a victory, which was, half of their win totals from last season. As we break this one down, Robert, though, London, either Mexico City was kind of ticked off, based on what happened last week, or London just didn't have it this past week. What happened?
I'd like to say that it was kind of a mix of both. Maybe with Mexico City, part of that could be credited to, it being week 1 last week, and they were just trying to throw together the best that they could based off of what they think the other team might do. And one of the big things for Mexico City is they were able to get Phoenix Jones going, way better than he did in week 1. 17 carries, 118 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. Yeah. And, London's defense that came into the season hyped up and excited to go, kind of took a step back this week.
I'm looking. Somebody just said in the chat something about London having 12 touchdowns. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And hey, you know what? You guys got to give Wink a break, man. He does a lot of work. And say, look at and maybe he thought he was doing the rushing yards right there. I don't know, because look at that in a row: rushing yards, total touchdowns, the first downs, all about the same number. So give my boy a break here. Yeah, Mexico City dominating this game, Robert. 364 total yards, 220 passing, 143 rushing. I mean, what happened with London's rushing game? Is it a Mexico City defense thing, or was it just bad rushing game on London's part?
I think it was a bad rushing game on London's part. And, part of that's credited to Robert Merrill isn't necessarily like the biggest known ball carrier in the league by far. But what he is known for is his receiving out of the backfield, which he had a pretty good day for 12 targets, 12 receptions, 58 yards. Wasn't able to find the end zone, but, did his part coming out of the backfield in the passing game.
Yeah, I'm just double checking. Somebody questioned the ground game, the yardage on London, and yeah, 12 carries for 13 yards, average 1.1 yards per carry. That is definitely not going to get it done in the SFL, Robert.
No, sir.
Jack's data had this game, the over under 48 and a half, and they didn't even come close. Can we expect London to rebound from this and start having, start putting some more points on the board starting next week?
I think we can. I still think that this is a very different London team from what we've seen. I think that they're going to be much improved from where they're at. This is just one of those tough beatings that you have to take along the way to learn and grow as a team.
Hey, last quick question. What's going on with Fox Highwind in Mexico City?
I do not know. I actually haven't heard anything about it.
I thought that was a phenomenal offseason pick because he had an amazing campaign last season. Not putting up the numbers this season really. 5 receptions for 40 yards. I don't even think he has a touchdown yet this season. So we got to find out what's going on with Fox as well. All right, Robert, thank you. Like I mentioned, Jack's data 48.5 on the over under, which is way over the Mexico City and London only scoring 30 points, which I think we all probably expected more points in this game. Mexico City was favored by 3.5, which they definitely covered. And look at us, SFL Nation, back in the win column, 144 to 82. We took Mexico City to start Sunday off 1-0. I'm checking the chat real quick. A lot of credit going to Mexico City's defense and Ramos for stopping that London offense. Yeah, there you go. All right, so moving on to game 2, Tyler, on Sunday, Fort Worth at Louisiana. Here's the thing. Fort Worth upset Louisiana at the end of last season. It was kind of a big deal. It knocked them out of I think the number 1 position, if I'm not mistaken. It also knocked me out of the survivor pool at the time, which is even more important. And so all roads seem to point to Louisiana playing at home after losing week 1. Perfect time for a revenge game. But what happened?
So Fort Worth just showed up to play, and it wasn't. They didn't do too much, yet they didn't do too little either, and that they did just enough to win the game. No touchdowns, 3 field goals, in one of the lowest scoring games in SFL history. We're used to seeing 27, 24, 35, 26 on the daily. 9-7, old-fashioned, hard-nosed, a mistake killed Louisiana, or I should say multiple mistakes. I think Cam put it perfectly in one of the game breaks. Pickler problems. 3 interceptions for Johnny Pickler, 2 of those coming crucially in the last 4 minutes of the ball game. So I gotta say, when Pickler has thrown over 30 times. He threw 31 times this week. He threw over 50 times in week 1. He's going to make a lot of mistakes. 3 interceptions this week, 4 interceptions last week, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's got to be a tweak, a change that helps the Louisiana offense get back to where they were at the end of last season. They had a fantastic game plan going into the playoffs last season. It just fell apart from there at the end. Something needs to happen in the Bayou.
So
hold on, to answer Tyler's question, Pickler is currently tied for second for interceptions with 7. Only JQ at 9 beats him, and he's tied with E.T. King and Bryant Dynasty.
Wow. So Bryant, that's another surprise we'll talk about here in a moment. Tyler, we talked last week, or actually I think we even talked, before week 1. If you can shut down Reggie, Johnny last season was able to pick their team up, right? That didn't happen in week 1. Week 2, Reggie rushed for 101 yards, but he had to do it on 27 carries and only got 1 touchdown. So is that enough work by Reggie Streeter to take the pressure off of Johnny, or does Johnny just need to step his game up?
Well, I think that it was a good game plan by Fort Worth. Streeter only had his longest run was only for 13 yards. So keeping him under that 20-yard long carry threshold means that Fort Worth had the right game plan to shut down Reggie Streeter and had the same exact right game plan to shut down Johnny Pickler at the same time. So it was the perfect storm for Fort Worth. They came in ready to go. They were the better prepared team, and they played like it on Sunday.
Well, Fort Worth definitely has Louisiana's numbered now. Jack's data. Here's what's ironic, right? Jack's data had this game with the highest over/under for the week at 71.5, and they only scored 16 points.
And they say my 2 and 10 predictions are bad.
Well, I give Jack's data a lot of grace here. Let me tell you, they do a lot of work and a lot of math. Louisiana's favored by 3.5. That didn't work out either. And you know what else didn't work out, Tyler? Who you got? 173-63. SFL Nation took Louisiana and took another one on the chin, and we are not doing well in week 2. Moving on to game 3 on Sunday. This was another game that had potential. Game of the week, attached to it. Again, though, I don't know, Frank, what is wrong with Sioux Falls this season? That's 2 in a row, and it's almost like they didn't even show up to play.
This was going to be an exciting game. I was all set for it, and ended up being a big yawner if you're a Sioux Falls fan. Baltimore did a great job. Sioux Falls, you would think from South Dakota they could play in the snow, but for some reason they couldn't get going. I don't know if y'all realize this or not, but Baltimore ran 61 plays to Sioux Falls 35, almost twice as much. It was, these were the exact same teams pretty much, minus one guy from the championship game. And so you're expecting big things from this game. It was only close during the first quarter, and then Baltimore exploded. Wigmore and company moved down the field when they needed to. They got the first downs when they needed to. Alvin Mack and Frank Smith combined for 14 tackles, and they held Colin Hart to 6 yards on 17 carries. Alvin Mack started, with the interceptions. Ben Stackenpaper grabbed 1. Troy Loshaw grabbed 2. It was just not a good game to watch. Wigmore had 32 completions for 305 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions. And if you're looking at your tight end calendar, Mr. July, Lloyd Graham Jr., hauled in 2 touchdowns on 3 catches. Ivory Irvin had the other, and possibly creating a Diva moment by creating a snow angel in the end zone. He finished with 13 catches, 144 yards, and the snow angel TD. Gaines was comparable to Hart. He had 17 carries for 65 yards. Not much of a factor there either. On 3rd and 2, Sioux Falls converted to a first down. It was challenged. Baltimore gets it overturned. They have to end up punting. Giovanni Bolt almost breaks that one for a touchdown like he did in the championship game. And it was just all Baltimore at this point.
Yeah, Chad just said in the chat that they have a rough a tough opening schedule for Sioux Falls. And I agree, Frank, but you got to be competitive. And I don't even see Sioux Falls being competitive in the first 2 weeks of the season.
What happens here is that Baltimore gets ahead, and it threw Sioux Falls out of their game. They're a running team, and their leading receiver this had 5 catches for only 61 yards. They're not accustomed to throwing the ball down the field. It's ground and pound, and they got behind so much that they couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that Julian Tyree throws no touchdowns and 5 interceptions. That's got loss written all over it.
Five interceptions, and I don't know if you realize this or not, but with 3 minutes to go, under 3 minutes to go in the first half, he only had 3 completions.
Wow. No, I did not realize that. Well, Jack's data, this is interesting. So they had this game at 57.5, which obviously they didn't come close. Sioux Falls not scoring points with only 33. Baltimore was favored by 6.5. They were favored by almost a touchdown, and they blew that out of the water. Who you got? SFL Nation 197-38. We took Baltimore to get back in the win column. Hopefully we can get it to 500, but we're going to have to win 2 of the next 3. Moving on to game 4 on Sunday. Vancouver, Atlanta. This was another game that I thought was like, oh my gosh, this could be game of the week. You've got Kendra going home. Both teams had amazing victories in week 1, Benji. But Atlanta, even playing at home, couldn't keep up with Vancouver. Is Vancouver just that good this season?
This was, I expected it to be a good game. And this was following along the lines, this theme of mine, an unexpected result. Not that Vancouver won, but it's just, I think, in the manner with which they won in this particular game. Vancouver, if you go back and look at the salaries for this league, Vancouver has one of the smallest salaries of all the teams in the SFL. They might even have the smallest. If I would have to go back and finish that research there. And yet they are appearing to be one of the more explosive teams in the SFL. So they are ready to go this season, right out of the gates, playing strong, fun to watch. And this game, Atlanta just, I don't even know how to analyze this game really, except to say that Vancouver looks really good, and they really took it to Atlanta. Starting this game off, Atlanta had 7 total possessions in the first half, 4 punts and 2 interceptions, and they did manage 1 touchdown. First half, 17-7, going into the break. Vancouver was up. Coming out of that halftime, Vancouver receives the ball, but they fumble on the first. There's the first play after the halftime or second play to give the ball right back to Atlanta. So they're right back in it, right? Halftime adjustments are done. They'll just take it right down and score, right? They got Bryant Dynasty at quarterback. They've got BDG Hollywood, all these weapons. They're right in the game. And Vancouver forced to punt, 4 and out for Atlanta. And they got that ball back at halftime. And then this is where the game just really blew wide open. Vancouver kicked a field goal. They intercepted Atlanta. 4 play, 19 yards is all they needed. So short field for a passing touchdown. And then they intercepted Atlanta again, took this one to the house, forced Atlanta to punt, 4 and out on the next possession. And then Vancouver drives down the field, 11 plays for a touchdown again. So 4 touchdowns, I'll say 4 scores, 1 field goal mixed in there by Vancouver coming out of the halftime. It just blew this game wide open. It finishes up 48-23. And looking at the stats, Vancouver just looks like they ran all over them. I mean, Atlanta had a lot of ground to make up, so they were really throwing the ball. So BDG wound up with 340 or 295 yards passing. As a team, the Swarm had 350 yards. Vancouver outpaced them by 100 total yards. Those interceptions by Bryant Dynasty, those turnovers, 5 turnovers by the Swarm, 5 interceptions by Bryant Dynasty. Now up among one of the lead leaders in interceptions. Not a stat, of course, you want to be near the top of as a quarterback. And so, but of course, Atlanta had to throw the ball. They had to come from behind. So you're doing what you have to do in that second half. So some of those numbers are probably a little bit inflated. But we can't ignore Vancouver and their positive numbers here. Tom Pepper, 81% completion percentage, 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Robert Redford, $150 on the ground, 2 touchdowns for Miss Kendra Hall. Congratulations.
She's tearing it up.
Yeah, so it's like Vancouver's firing in all cylinders right now on the offensive side of the ball. They get a pick 6 by Kyler Murray. He looks really great. 2 interceptions in the game. Ashley Rose Finch, another interception. She took one to the house last week. So at the moment, Vancouver looks like they can't do anything wrong. It is just 2 games into the season, but on this theme of mine where things are just upside down, all turned around, we've yet to settle in. We are waiting for Vancouver to have a bad game. Who knows when it's going to come? But this is a great victory, total team victory over Atlanta, and they really looked like the better team.
Yeah, for Atlanta, Bryant Dynasty, he can't throw 5 interceptions and only have BDG run for 50 yards and expect to be in a ball game. That's just not possible.
Yeah, that was the other stat there. I sorry, I forgot to get that one out there. But BDG Hollywood runs for 250 yards in the first week of the season. Yeah. And what were we all saying? Like, oh my gosh, Atlanta's going to be unstoppable this year if BDG is going to do that because he didn't do that last year. And he gets just bottled up by Vancouver. And that might be a little bit game script there as well. But even then, he doesn't do anything in the passing game too. Unfortunately, BDG limited to 3 receptions and only 17 yards in the passing game. And we know he's a killer out of the backfield there too. So great job by Vancouver bottling him up.
Absolutely. This was another high over-under by Jack's Data. They had the over-under at 68.5, so it was 71 points. They pretty much nailed that. And this was a pick 'em, although it didn't play like it. SFL Nation drops another one, 94 to 138. We took Atlanta, so we need 2 wins just to make it to 500 for week 2 going into game 5.
I will say one more thing. Sorry, Dave. Sorry. I got to look out for my tight ends here too. And will someone throw James Walters the ball in Vancouver? Someone give the man a target.
Somebody relay that to Andy. Whitey said that Atlanta build is dangerous. It'll be interesting if they can unlock its full potential. We agree, and we think they did in week 1, but definitely not in week 2. Benji, thank you, bro.
Yep.
All right, moving on to here's something interesting about Game 5, DC at Denver. Other than the fact that Winkler called for this to be an upset, he called DC in an upset. It wasn't even close. That's not the right score, Wink. It was 30-0.
I know, but I called it in the upset, so I wanted to make it look more presentable.
Well, you got to have DC winning then. If you're gonna do it, you got to go all the way. If you're gonna commit, dude, you got to commit all the way.
It's not believable if I made DC winning. This is just like, oh wow, he was close, a lot closer than people thought.
That's terrible. You know that I was gonna lead with that too. I've been waiting all weekend to say Winkler called DC, and it was close. They only lost by 30. And I think the announcer, I don't remember who announced that game, but they called the score 30 Rock, which I thought was hilarious. But Tyler, we're jumping this game since the last game in San Diego, and you can't comment on that one. Denver just completely dominated this game. I think we were expecting a domination by Denver, but were we expecting this much domination?
Dave, I got 3 words for you. First round knockout. In it, as much time as it takes for 1 round of boxing to be over was how long it took for Denver to be on the score sheet. And that the game could have ended there, sadly, for DC, excuse me. 30 points. It really showed the difference between youth and experience. Again, there's a lot of history behind DC and their franchise, and it's tough. It's tough when you have 16 rookie players, all making their SFL debut for the first season, all trying to get stronger, become a dynamic piece of that Dragon locker room, and these are the growing pains. These are the growing pains that they're going to have to go through, and the people that stick around in DC and tough it out and get through this rough patch are really going to make DC the franchise that they want to be. That being said, there wasn't a whole lot of turnover. So it wasn't necessarily, DC shooting themselves in the foot. There was the bobbled pick six in the first quarter. There was a fumble by Kevin Say later on in the game. But other than that, they completed a bunch of passes. Synergy was 34 of 45. He was throwing the ball accurately short, but accurate most of the time during the game. So it wasn't necessarily them shooting themselves in the foot. They were able to convert on first downs. They only had 2 less first down conversions than Denver. So it's nothing to say that DC wasn't trying, giving it their all. It just goes to show they went up against one of the better teams in the SFL, and Denver took hold and controlled the game.
Well, and that's what good teams are supposed to do, right? When they play lesser teams, they're supposed to dominate them. They're supposed to, put their will on them, if you will. And I think Denver did exactly that. Denver did what they needed to do, I think, to stay impressive. If they squeak out a 17-14 victory or whatever that score was when they played Portland last season, then you're gonna start having the naysayers like, oh, maybe Denver's not as quite as impressive as they were in week 1. But I think far and away they took care of business in week 2 to show that they're probably one of the best 2 or 3 teams in the league this season so far.
Hold on. Let's wait to see the result next week before we crown them one of the best teams.
They are one of the best teams already. But
so it's Baltimore versus Denver next week. That is going to be
that's going to be probably for who's Vancouver play next week though? Because I think Vancouver
plays Portland, Vancouver plays Portland, but they almost laid an egg against Portland last season. So that's going to be an interesting one too.
That'll be interesting. So I think by far those 3 teams are the best teams so far in the league this season, Tyler. Tyler, I don't know who DC plays next season, but what can they do to put some points on the board and maybe, get in the win column finally?
I think you got to think a little bit outside the box. The short passes are going to work, especially for the rookies, just getting them to find your feet. Like I said earlier, they're going to take a couple of these games on the chin, and there's nothing they're really going to be able to do about it. They might get lucky with a few games here and there. But again, expecting DC to have a winning season going forward is probably not in the cards. But, they just have to go out every single week, give it their all, and, crazy things can happen. Fort Worth can beat Louisiana 9-7. So DC could beat Baltimore 3-2. Who knows? Who knows what could happen?
I got one more question for Tyler on this game.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I love Tyler's hot takes. Tyler, how you feeling the 2 running backs are going for DC right now? Or do you think it's a mistake?
So I don't think we've seen a whole lot of I can't pronounce that the last name. Is it Tregan? Or I'm trying to remember how to pronounce.
I believe it's Targaryen.
Yeah, I believe it's Targaryen too.
Okay, I didn't watch Game of Thrones, so there's not going against me. So Targaryen. I think it's too soon to tell. I think when Targaryen gets more progressions, because Targaryen is starting out, base, and so it's going to take him to grow throughout this entire season just to be at a point where he could be usable in this league. So I think we give that setup, the 2 running back setup that they've got going on, 2 seasons to see whether or not it was a smart or bad idea. Who knows? We've seen players move positions all the time. Maybe they abandon it going into next season. Who knows?
Yeah, Mighty. Let me. Mighty's stirring something up in the chat. I want to lay to rest. That was not a subtle shot at Fort Worth. He was talking about the scores, about how weird games can be and anything can happen. Not the fact that they beat Louisiana. What he meant was, if somebody could beat somebody 9-7 in this league, and San Diego's punter can run 50 yards for first down, that anything can happen. Mighty. That's not what he wasn't digging at Fort Worth, by the way. Another comment real quick I want to get to before I move onto the Jack's data here. Jeremy in the chat saying 2 offensive touchdowns from Denver, 3 red zone trips ending with field goals. That won't do it versus Baltimore next week. We got to be better. Didn't play to our expectations offensively. So you got to love teams that are that good and still always looking for improvements. So I can't wait to see that game next week. Jack's data in the DC Denver game had the over under at 48.5. Not close on that. They had Denver favored by 13.5, which was the biggest spread of the week. Obviously, it need to be bigger. And wait, what do you know? We picked Denver, SFL Nation, and who you got 210-24. I believe it's the first time I've ever seen a who you got over 200 votes. Now, I may be mistaken. Maybe DC can let me know if that is incorrect, but 210-24 has got to be the largest margin I've ever seen for sure. All right, Tyler, thank you. As we get to this last game of Sunday and the last game of the weekend, Vegas at San Diego. We talked week 1 about Vegas playing the confines, friendly confines of home is good, but what can you do on the road? They did have the advantage of being on the road against an expansion team, Robert, and they pretty much did what they wanted to do in San Diego. Tell me about this game.
Yeah, no, San Diego played really well in this game, but their biggest problem, and it's one that I feel and I relate to. They couldn't find the end zone, and that was really what hurt them. Javier Vasquez, 3 interceptions, just couldn't get it done where they needed to, and their stats look really good: 276 passing yards, 109 rushing yards, but when you can't get into the end zone, I guess what does it really matter at that point?
So a question: do you think they should move their punter to running back? Because that guy can. I mean, that guy can run. That was the craziest play I think I've ever seen, Robert. That was insane, right? I mean, unbelievable, that play. I want to ask you the question that I asked about DC. What does San Diego need to do now to start to get in the win column? Now, I mean, they played a decent game in week 1 against LA. I kind of expected a better effort, to be honest with you, for their very first home game ever. What does San Diego need to do moving forward? Before I break down a couple other things for this game.
I mean, one of the big things that San Diego has to do is they got to get the ball to Optimus Klein. 1 reception for 35 yards. He's a big threat, especially lining up at tight end now for San Diego. And him only having 1 reception on the offensive side is disastrous.
That is definitely disastrous. Somebody said something about the punter's name. Something about the punter's name in the chat, but I don't know the punter's name. That's why I just keep calling him the punter.
Alex Domion. Very special player to Optimus. I'll give just a brief story later, because I may or may not have him as my diva. So.
Oh, here we go. Which we'll be doing in here just a couple minutes. I'm looking at the Vegas stats, Robert, real quick. Scott Johnson only rushed for 51 yards. Colin Pierce had he had the 316, 2 touchdowns, but only 2 interceptions. I'm looking at San Diego's offense. Javier Vasquez, no touchdowns, 3 more picks. That's definitely not going to get it done against anybody. Jalen Wells did have 105 yards, but most of them were on that one big play that was I don't know what it was, 50, 68. It was 68 yards. And like you said, like Connor Weston, big game in week 1, only 3 catches, 44 yards. Optimus only the 1 catch. San Diego definitely needs to start spreading the ball around, I think. Maybe get that passing game going to open up the running game, or vice versa. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that this team needs at this point. I feel like they have a foundation set that's very good. And the stats kind of say the same thing. They held their own against Vegas. They just got to iron out the kinks now in their playbook, figure out ways to get their big play receivers open down the field, and keep working with Jalen Wells. He is a fresh transfer from fullback, so you got the little bit of struggle there that those players tend to have. And even with that, had a pretty good game, as you said, 16 carries, 105 yards. Granted, 68 of them were 1 run.
Right. Jack's data had this game at 40.5, so that's pretty close to that 10-point threshold we discussed with 30 points scored in this game. They had Las Vegas favored by 3.5, which they covered. And look at us, SFL Nation, in the who you got. We sneak in with the last two victories. We took Las Vegas 181-47 to end up 6-6, only 500. That may not even make it in the playoffs this year, by the way. For week 2 after we went 9-3 in week 1. So we need to step our game up, SFL Nation. That's for sure in the who you got. All right, let's move on to Diva of the Week nominees. I don't know if Eagle and Link are going to have any. I'll go to them. I'll ask them when we get there. But Frank, I want to start with you. We last week. Who won last week? It was he wasn't able. Oh, BDG Hollywood won. That's right. He wasn't able to be on the show. But week 2, completely different story for a lot of teams. Completely different story for a lot of players. Who stood out to you? What was their diva moment? And who do you nominate for Diva of the Week for week 2 in season 16?
Okay. Well, in the Arizona game, there's about 3 or 4 things that kind of stood out that could have been divish, but the Baltimore Sioux Falls game, Ivory Irvin, the Snow Angel touchdown, that's my Diva of the Week.
Dude, the Snow Angel touchdown celebration was, that was pretty awesome. That's one of like the top 2 or 3 I saw this weekend. That was actually really good. All right, so Frank goes with Ivory Irvin. Benji, who is your season 16 week 2 Diva of the Week nominee?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I love the Louisiana Revolution, right? Great team. Very polarizing. You love them, you hate them. And what about the great PR team there, right? The Louisiana Revolution. They like to talk a lot. They put
They
out some
do.
good stuff. And that locker room's always popping. They always got something to say. And if you like following the social media and listening to what the Louisiana Revolution have to say, you would learn that they think they're real good. And you would learn that they've got a couple defensive backs there who game in, game out are
Frank.
just gonna, they're gonna take, who do we have over there? Evan Arthur. The only place he says, the only place I'm not the best corner in the game or best generation is in the haters' minds. Hashtag hate us ain't us. Just in case, just a heads up, he says, in case you didn't know, me and my boys fully expect to take at least 2 of your passes to the house this weekend. Thanks in advance. And then they ran into the buzzsaw. It was the Fort Worth Toros. And what really gets in your craw, when you get beat, that's one thing. But what really gets in your craw if you're a defensive back, letting a receiver get 100 yards on you. What's even worse than a wide receiver getting 100 yards on you, but a really good-looking tight end. My Diva of the Week from the Fort Worth Toros, the beautiful cowboy, Robert Garrett Jr., who dropped 100 yards on 7 receptions on the Louisiana Revolution, and they win the game. So congrats to the cowboy.
Tight ends looking out for tight ends. What do you know? Shocker. All right, Robert Garrett Jr., newly nominated Diva of the Week candidate. Who is your Diva of the Week nominee for week 2, season 16?
I knew there was a reason I liked you, Benji. My Diva of the Week for week 2 went back to her home drafted team in the Atlanta Swarm, and for the second time in just 2 weeks put up 2 touchdowns and a very explosive game. So my Diva of the Week nomination is none other than wide receiver Kendra Hall.
Nice on Kendra. She almost got one last week. I had it down between her and my nominee, and she just missed out. So glad to see that she's back in it. All right, Tyler, moving on to you. Who's your week 2, season 16 Diva of the Week nominee?
So what everyone will slowly, learn about San Diego is the team has history, even for it being a new team. All the non-contract players and all the non-contract players are named after either Tuskegee Airmen or World War II aces, except for 2 non-contract players. One of them is punter Alex Domian. Thank you to Optimus for putting the correct pronunciation in there. And as a punter, you're not really expected to do much, especially when you're a military vet who went went to Iraq and paid the ultimate price. And it's especially hard for optimists, to come out and say that, Alex was my best friend, and if it weren't for a couple of situations in his life, he would have joined up with his best friend Alex and would have been in that conflict as well. And so he kicks himself in the shorts every day because he wasn't able to be there for Alex in his time of need. And nothing's was really going too well in San Diego's favor, but when it comes to punting the football, all you got to do is catch the ball, kick the ball, right? Except when the ball flies over your head and you're not expecting. So you run back to your own end zone, you try and kick it again, and it's blocked. So what do? You're back in your own end zone. You're pretty much giving your last stand. It's either a safety or you make something happen. And boy, did Alex make something happen. He got out of the end zone, rushed for a first down, gets up ready to celebrate, and there's laundry on the field. There's a block in the back penalty at the 1 yard line. So he has to go back and punt the ball away for a second time. So my diva of the week is Alex Domian for just showing up as a punter and getting the first down, or would have been first down.
I think we need to nominate that ref for anti-diva of the week. That's just a terrible call. Yes. I mean, actually, I saw it was a block in the back, but I mean, come on, you can't call that at that time. Come on, ref.
Was that ref wearing a lime green shirt by chance?
I don't even want to talk about that right now. All right, moving on. Speaking of Winkler, do you have a Diva of the Week nominee this week or no?
I was thinking about it. I was gonna say no, because nobody really impressed me this week. And then I remembered I did catch some of the Vegas game. And I don't know how many people were watching in chat, but near the end of the game, I called out Mike Ryan. And I said, "You need to make a play, son." And that next play, he gets a pick.
Wait. So are you nominating yourself?
No. Oh. I'm gonna nominate Mr. Unforgettable over here.
Nice. For the timing of it, right? For the timing.
For the timing, for me calling him out and him answering as a rookie, trying to lift his team up. I'm gonna give him the nod.
Look at the Rapid Raccoon. Nobody impressed you? ? Did you only watch your game? Oh my goodness, Winkler. I was there for that premonition. Attaboy, Gunny. All right, so we got Mr. Mike Ryan. Before I get to Gunny, Eagle, are you here? And do you have a Diva of the Week nominee for this week?
I am here. I made it back from work.
Nice.
I do have a Diva nomination. I kind of agree with Winkler. There was a lot of top plays for the weekend. There weren't many Diva moments. Kyler Murray's 100 or interception return was a top play, but he outran everybody untouched. That's not really Diva-ish in my mind. But I'm going to the Los Angeles game and Houston game. I'm going with Peanut Say this week on his second return for a touchdown where he ran through Warren Murray and DR Sim to return it for the touchdown. So my pick for this week is Peanut Say.
Nice. That's actually a really good pick. All right, Gunny, moving on to you. Who do you have for your Diva of the Week nominee week 2, season 16?
Leading his team to their first franchise road victory in Portland, Shad Allen with 3 interceptions is my nominee for the week.
All right, awesome. Yeah, he tore it up. That was pretty amazing. Okay, so that's 7 nominees, and we have 8 as we try to do every week. The last one goes to me. Last week I had it down to 2 people, and I had to pick one. And this week I have it down to 2 people, and I have to pick one. So Eagle actually mentioned who finishes second for me this week. I was really close. This was so hard. I don't think I made a decision till maybe a half an hour before we came on the air. And so my second the guy who didn't make the cut, it was Kyler Murray. 6 tackles, 2 assists, 2 pass deflections and 2 picks, which were all great. The Diva moment obviously would have been the 100-yard pick 6. However, something that I like in the SFL that we don't get to see quite enough of is celebrations, end zone celebrations to be exact. And another young man who plays for Arizona also had a pick 6 of only 55 yards, but he had a phenomenal Diva-like celebration in the end zone where he literally laid down, used the football as a pillow to take a nap to let the other team know, I am so bored with you. This is so easy. I'm just going to sleep and nap it out the rest of the game. And you don't get any more Diva than that. Iverson Gamble is my Diva of the Week nominee for week 2, season 16. So there you go, folks. 8 Diva of the Week nominees. Eagle will have them hopefully tonight in the Access Live server to vote on. Please vote. Get your teammates, get your family, get your friends to vote. We had over 80 votes last week. We'd like to see this thing starting to get close to 100 if we can. So that wraps up that portion of the show. Before we get on to After Dark and our special guest, Nelson Lozano, we missed it last week just because with all the new format and stuff, we forgot. But I told you guys a couple weeks ago that we want to, on Tuesdays, do a little segment called Next on Netma, where Tyler comes on just for a minute to tell you what his next show, which is on Wednesdays, the day after Tuesday, in case you're paying attention, what his show will be about tomorrow. So with that being said, Tyler, take it away and let us know what is next on Netma.
Next on Netma, bandwagon or bust of the 2-0 teams, who has the best chance of staying in the playoff places? Charging Toros. How high did Fort Worth rise in my power rankings? And a must-win game? Which team already has a must-win game in week 3 if they have any chance of making the playoffs? That and so much more. It's live tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern on Netma.
Boom. There you go, everybody. 8 o'clock tomorrow. Tune in. And I mean, if you tune in for nothing else, at least tune in for his predictions, because we know how golden those are, and how much fun we have with all of them. All right, Tyler, thank you, bro. We'll see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, so that brings us to the After Dark portion of the show. We're doing much better on time this week, by the way, I might add. There is a lot of content. There are a lot of content creators in the league. I'm going to start asking some of them to come on the show, like Tyler does. Nelson's been on the show before. AJ's been on the show before. Coach is on the show all the time. But I'm going to start asking some of them to come on the After Dark portion to let people know about their shows in case there are new people who don't know about them. So first, I want to introduce and welcome to the show Nelson Lozano. Nelson, first of all, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, Dave. How you doing?
I'm doing outstanding. And I might add also SFL broadcaster this season.
Yeah, I know, man. It's my dad's reached out to me saying, "Hey, would I like to go ahead and do broadcasting this season?" And I told him, "Yeah, I'll be down." I had a lot of fun doing it in the minors. Shout out to Tyler. Me and him did a game together, and it was a blast. So I took the opportunity to join the ranks of Benji, and Robert, who are on the panel today of broadcasters, part of the broadcast team now.
Awesome. Hey, Nelson, real quick. Somebody's saying that you're kind of quiet. Are you able to turn you up, or Wink? Can we turn him up?
I fixed him.
Oh, you fixed him? Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you. So Nelson, for those who don't know, you started out with a show on Friday nights about the SFL, the inner workings of the league, and recently, I don't know how many weeks ago now, you have added a Monday night show. Winkler, I'm hearing myself, and I wanted you to break down the two shows for everybody and tell us the difference between them, so people will understand what the two shows are all about.
Yeah, so with the two free agent acquisitions of Ben and KT, right? Shout out to my guys as well as Bernard Smith from the Arizona Scorpions. The whole purpose of the two shows is because we started creating a crew, right? So we have a crew of 4, including myself, and I felt like we could. I wanted KT and Ben to bring back their Wildcat wisdom, right? They had Wildcat wisdom when they were with Chicago,
Right.
And I thought it was great content that they provided. They provided a different viewpoint of the league. So we wanted to carry that forward into the Inside the League brand and create the SFL Audible. So on Mondays between 10 p.m. Eastern and 11 p.m. Eastern, it's basically like your sports talk show, right? So we talk about topics. This week on Monday, we talked about the week 2 recaps, predictions, right, of who's still going to go be undefeated going into this week 3, and then talking about some dark horses, teams that are 0-2, who could potentially turn it around and get themselves back into the playoffs and into a contention. So that is more of that, and we encourage on Mondays for folks to call in. Call into the show or chat in the Discord that we have to really just share another platform, right? Like you have your platform here, and it's amazing, and you typically have 4 panelists as well as anybody who wants to join in the chat. So it's just to give people more an opportunity to do the same thing. It just voice their opinions and kind of get the other aspect of some viewpoints from different people. Now on Fridays we do the interview side. So I do it on purpose. Mondays is the start of a work week. It's boring as hell during the week, so we try to keep it fun with the SFL Audible. And then on Fridays, since now we're starting to be a little bit more relaxed and getting into the weekend, we do the interview portion. So that's from 9 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. And we just basically do interviews, right? I do touch a little bit about upcoming games because those are typically coming on that Saturday and Sunday. So I'll talk about upcoming games, and then I'll go into the interview, which this week we have Optimus Klein, the owner of the San Diego Mavericks, who will be on this Friday's show. So it should be pretty exciting.
So do you have guests on Monday as well, or just on Friday?
So Monday, anybody could call in, right? I
Okay.
encourage anybody to go ahead and call in, give your opinions, give your viewpoints, talk about things. This week we had Eddie Gage call in, and we had Ezekiel Love call in to give their opinions about how the games went and everything, and who they think will turn it around. So on Mondays it is encouraged. On Fridays it's more of like if you wanted a question for the interviewer, right? So I'm doing Optimus Klein. So if you had a question for Optimus, you could go ahead and put that in the chat, and I typically ask them based on whoever asked it, and get them involved in the interview process as well if there's a question they want to ask. I'm trying to make it as interactive as possible. So some of these great people that we have in the league, you can talk to them without feeling any type of intimidation because I'll ask the question for you.
Okay. You said you have Optimus coming up on this Friday. Who are some of your more recent previous guests you've had on the show?
I've had some of my Portland Fleet members, right? That I've had. Who else have we had? I mean, I've had I've had Ashley in the past. I've had the commissioner. I've had some rookies, right? When we had Clem on there. I really try to mix it up, to be honest with you. Everybody has a story, and that's honestly what influenced all this, right? Like hearing some of these stories, we don't. I've been in this league since season 14. So from 14 on down, I have no history whatsoever. And I'm a big history person. So I encourage people, like I've had Eddie Gage on there, and that was an awesome interview because Eddie shared so much about the league that hadn't been talked about before. And then, Cam Curtis was on there. And I always talk about Cam Curtis's interview, man, because he's talked about branding, which you don't hear many people talk about branding in its own, or how that's being seen, and what branding really means towards companies and in general.
Right.
So I mean, I had so many great guests, and each guest in their own right. And I'm trying to get to everybody. Shout out to Chad Rowland because I know he's been like, Nelson, when are you going to invite me? I haven't forgot about you, Chad. So you hear this on Access Live tonight.
And we know he's in the chat, so we know he heard you now.
Yeah. So, but again, I try to get as many people as possible, and everybody has a reason why I have them on the show. Either I've seen how you engage in the chats, or I've seen how you carry yourself in interviews. And I just honestly want to give people a way to share their story because everybody has one. And that's what honestly influenced the show to begin with, is just I wanted to get to know more about the league and the people that run it. And the inside the league is literally the people inside of the league who make the difference. So it gives people a viewpoint that's a little bit different than you'll find just by talking about their stats or what their team does.
Tell us about some of the maybe most outrageous or funniest or craziest moments that you've had on the show with anybody in particular.
Oh, Dave Access was pretty fun, right? Greg Soto was fun. You seen the kind of the Lone Star Glory type of feel there. It's really hard to pick out one though, because I had fun with Cam too, having a conversation with the commissioner, and it's always a blast having it with him. You know, like I said, Eddie too, with the knowledge that he shared. I think, you know, we don't talk about what this league has gone through, right? We see what it's been now, but we don't know the struggles it was season 1 to season 3 to season 5 and everything else. And I always find that so cool because this league has grown for me in 2 seasons dramatically. So anybody who's been past that, I imagine this league has changed completely from what you used to see. And you know, they're the pioneers to this. Anybody who's been in this league this whole time, you are a pioneer. You are part of the cornerstone and the foundation of this league. And as a new person coming in, all I do is, you know, I have respect for that. And I think, again, for those people who stuck around that long, you deserve to be recognized as much as anybody who's just getting started with the league because you made this league for what it is now and what we enjoy every day.
Yeah, Mighty commenting in the chat right now about what you said. He said the days of 0 live viewers. I can't even imagine that at all. Hey, so Doug Britton just said in the chat, Nelson, he said Scott Johnson was best on Nelson's show. What happened with Scott Johnson that Doug's bringing that up?
I think it's honestly just so Scott, Zeke, Mel, they're all related and they're all family. So the Scott Johnson interview to get, you know, Scott's not like he'll talk and he's a very like team player, but he's not like a lot of people didn't get to know him, and I felt like the interview really gave him that platform. And you know, to meet these men, right? I've known Mel now probably going on 4 to 5 years, maybe even more, right? Actually, maybe 9. I might be tripping,
Wow.
right? But I've known him for a while. He's been my vet for my dogs for a while, and he introduced me to Zeke and Scott and Brody Gulch and Rob Breyer, right? People that we actually know, and to be able to give him a platform, Scott Johnson, and allow him to speak and people get to know. He's such a great guy, man. Really good person. Is a team player and he's very competitive. You know, the Mel Davis, Ezekiel Love, and Scott Johnson. If you ever hear them all 3 talk, it's a competitive family environment. So, yeah, I mean, Scott being able to share that and share who he was. I mean, it's honestly, I felt like it's my right. If Mel is one of my great friends, that it's my right to do the same thing to the people that he cares for and give them a platform to speak as well. So, yeah, Scott Johnson was pretty good as well.
That's cool. I think did I hear that you had Bo Martin Jr. on recently?
I did have Bo, and Bo was fun too.
Was he last Friday or when was he?
He was, and that I was gonna go and try to see if because I keep a guest list now that we have our own Discord to kind of not forget anybody. So Bo was, let me go back here to take a look. So Bo was, his show was, where is he on here? Maybe, yeah, it wasn't last week. I think it was, it was on 128. So it was 128
okay.
with Gary Burney and Bo Martin. And I think Bo, with finding out he's a voice actor and everything else that he does, man, it was so cool to really get to know him. And then shout outs to, you know, check him out too. He has his own website and YouTube, Bo Knows VC. I think VO, sorry, Bo Knows VO. Check him out, man. I think that's so awesome that we have such a great talent in this league. And I told him, I was like, man, you should really try to utilize that skill set for us, right? Because I think, again, Cam does a lot of the work, but it takes every single individual like yourself, like Winkler, like Eagle, you know, like all these people, Ashley Jackson, Coach Cravens, Cam Curtis, you know, people to create more content to make it easier for him. And then, like I said, I always shout out the stats team and the broadcast team because, I mean, all respect, the research that's done. I got to give recognition to Tyler and Benji here too. I stole their notes last week to get a good understanding of of what I had to do to research wise, right? But yeah, all those folks need to be recognized for what they do for this league.
That's awesome. Have you had Gunny on yet?
Nah, man, Gunny's on my list too. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm trying to get to everybody. I at one point I brought it down to just one guest because holiday season it was killing me. Now I'm trying to get it to two guests at a time, and I'm not gonna lie, I try to balance it out where it's one person from the league and one person who's on the team to try to give them some recognition. But if anybody's like unavailable to do from the fleet side, then I get two of our guests so I can have two interviews that people can enjoy throughout the week.
Hey, Hubba Breezy has a question for you in the chat. He says, "Do you plan on utilizing other podcast platforms in the future? What platforms are you using now? And if you can answer Hubba's question."
Yeah, I mean, right now what we're using is Blog Talk Radio. That was provided by Jacob because Jacob was actually having a show on there, which was for the 49ers. And so he had Blog Talk. He introduced it. In the future, yes, I want to kind of get it to where you get to like a show, right? Like an actual show like the Sports Junkies that we have out here in the DMV area, or like just a show like you would find anywhere else on like ESPN or First Takes and all these kind of things as well. That's kind of where I would love to get it. And I would love to try to get information out there, but I do want to use other platforms. It's just right now the equipment that I'm using is a little bit outdated for what I want to do at this current time.
Okay. So if people want to get a hold of you to be on your show, first of all, what's your Discord DM, and is there any other way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so if you hit me up on Discord, it's Nelson Lozano. That's Lozano, capital Portland GM. You can find me there on Discord. You can also join the Discord if you like, straight up. It's inside the league. You can join that as well. And you can interact with people. And, I try not to, I don't use it to ping people a lot just because so much happens with our actual Discord at the SFL. I try to be very respectful and just use it for show days, right? So the days that we actually have shows, I try to go ahead and utilize it. So everybody has a way of communicating. I don't have to bother people in the SFL if they're like, hey, I don't really want to be partaking in it. As we saw one potential player called this a podcast league, right?
So, yeah, I saw that.
So to try to, and hopefully that person, if they are listening, understand that the reason why we provide this content is because we were part of the time where there was content, but it was very scattered, right? Mighty had a podcast. I don't think many people knew that. Mighty had a podcast for a long time. Then Kramer Jackman had a podcast, right? So these are folks who pioneered the way for us. And yeah, I mean, it's before it used to be just the games. You'd watch the games and then boom. If you were part of Discord, cool, you got to be a part of it. But if you were a regular viewer, you were stuck with not knowing what the hell was going on. And you were hoping to catch it and hopefully joining the Discord. So to provide content, it's just like what the NFL, the NBA, or any other professional sports league does, is you have to have content constantly out there to keep that being part of conversations.
Yep.
If you
it's hard to go. It's hard to go Sunday to Sunday or Saturday to Sunday, right? With nothing in between.
Yeah, like think of the off season. All of us were biting, chomping at the bits just to get the preseason games, right? So it's the same thing here. This league is made up of so many great people. Every time, again, when you hit everyone, there's 2,300 people on this Discord, on the SFL Discord server. So that's amazing. And each one of those people have a story. Each one of the person. I mean, you drafted a gentleman in this year's draft, Evan Lacey, who has an amazing story as well, right? So people like that, and Evan was on the show too, so shout out to him. I think again, everybody has that story, and everybody can have an opportunity to speak that, because that's what makes this league great. It's not so much of what the gameplay. Yeah, that's amazing, right? The gameplay that we see on TV, the transitions, these post-game, pre-game shows. I mean, this is really taking it above and beyond, and I'm really excited to see what the next move are for the league. but it's everything else in between. It's the people who make it happen. It's the people who are doing the research. It's the people that are doing the stats. It's a collection of people in this league that I feel like everybody in one way, shape, or form needs to be recognized for.
There's a couple good comments in the chat. Mac Anthony saying these podcasts bring life to the players. Swole saying content is king. By the way, Bob Funk wants to do your show with Gunny, just so you know, FYI.
Tell
And
him I got him. I got him. He knows.
yeah, sweet. Also, you know, to your point, we've got content every night of the week now in the SFL. You know, your Monday, Friday, we've got me on Tuesday, Thursday, Tyler's on Wednesday. Ashley drops, I think, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, if I'm not Thursdays for sure. And then sometimes she's got another one. And then coach is kind of whenever he wants to drop it in between. So there's plenty of content out there. And it's cool because, you know, there's something every day of the week. So you don't even have to go one single day anymore without hearing something about the SFL.
And that's what I love. That's honestly, influence from you, Ashley, Coach, because you guys were doing it before I did. Honestly, is what inspired me to do it because it's again like it's a lot of work to put these shows together. It's not easy. There's a lot of research that happens. There's a lot of game planning, trying to get guests involved, right? Like it's a lot, and we do it for the love of the league that we have, and it's the appreciation that we have because honestly, Cam allows us the ability to. Cam has never came on a show and been like, you can't say that, or you can't do that, or you can't do that. Like he doesn't dictate how we enjoy the SFL, and I really do appreciate that because it's hard to let go of something you love so much to allow people to do with it what they wish, and everybody has a no ill intent with that brand neither. Like none of us are here to belittle it or put it in a negative light. We all want to show what we love about this SFL, and I think that's amazing that every day out the week we get to enjoy something.
Yeah, Jeff Gagne, I think, is in the chat saying people in the league willing to create for more than just their own team or players are the MVP of the SFL. That's a nice compliment. Nelson, I can't let you go without talking a little Portland Fleet football. What do you think about your week 3 matchup against one of the hottest teams in the league this weekend in Vancouver?
A lot of respect to Vancouver, man. Like they have really turned it up. I feel like they have a chip on their shoulder from that playoff loss, to Louisiana, and came out really guns a blazing. I think I saw in the chat something about like they have a combined in 2 games, like already like over 50 points. I think Mighty put that up. So shout out to Mighty. If I got it wrong, my bad, Mighty, but I know you put that in there. So that's quite impressive in its own. And I've talked about it before. Their offense is high powered and their defense comes to play. Right? I don't want to say their defense is the main staple of it. I think for them it's their offense because it's so high flying. And think about it. If you run your team with a generic kicker, you're basically saying I'm not going for field goals, I'm going for touchdowns.
Right.
So you have to respect that, and we respect it, but I'm not scared. If I were to be honest with you, I'm not scared. I'm very excited because it is such a high quality team to play against, and we have been playing against high quality teams. St. Louis, high quality team. Tulsa, high quality team. So it's nothing against those two, but right now the hot team is Vancouver, and I'm very excited to see how my team comes up against it. Really huge team win against Tulsa. All respects to them, to Berto, Dion over there. But now, we're looking forward to playing Andy Hamilton and the rest of the Vancouver squad. And I got love for Mike over there, for Coco. So it's all love when we play that game. But we are a division rival, and we're going to play as such. So it should be a very exciting game, and I'm very excited to see how my team comes against Vancouver because it will be a very good litmus test for us.
Right. Kendra in the chat saying she's ready for you, bro.
Well, I appreciate it. Kendra's also awesome as well, man.
Yeah.
Her coming in and being the type of player that she is for them. And, again, Vancouver's had great receivers. We all know RIP, Rich Pratchard, right? For her to come in here and make her own name, right, outside of a great receiver as Rich was, it's big. It's big respect to Kendra. And, she's so humble about it, too. Like, if you watched her interview with Cam and Mike, she was just so happy to be there and very humble. And, again, I think Vancouver got a really good player there, as well as getting Gerald. I think Gerald was an underrated acquisition coming from Chicago and bringing in to really solidify that line. Um, Overall, like I said, Vancouver is not an easy feat, and I won't sit here and tell you otherwise. But I will tell you this: Portland's not scared, and I'm not scared. We're not scared of any team in this league. And that's not to say anything in the sense of like disrespectful wise. We respect every team. I tell you, all the game plans that each and every team puts in this week. I mean, it can go either way. Think about it. You said it this week. The who you guys we got this week.
Yeah.
We didn't get it right. So, so with that being said, it's just I have respect for every single team. You guys see Portland like as much as people want to sometimes badmouth Portland. You don't ever see us respect. You don't ever see us respond just because again we're going to show you proof in the pudding with how we do this season, and I think we're going to definitely make some noise this season compared to last season.
Well, if your game against Denver last season is any indication, this could be a close game, and you guys could be in it for sure. Real quick, I just want to make one correction. Ashley in the chat, SFL nights are on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Unless she does a double show. So now she's doing Thursdays at 6 p.m. I just wanted to get that straight.
And shout her out to her too because for this I just did her for SFL nights with AJ Stryker. Myself, Mel Davis, and Ezekiel Love are actually on there with her. So look out for that. That hopefully will drop. I think that's the one that should be dropping on Thursday. But she has T. Roy Gaines as her guest star as well, guest co-host for this week. So look out for her show as well.
Okay.
You'll hear more about some Portland stuff there that she asked us to.
Got it. All right, Nelson. Before we wrap up, let me get a couple predictions from you real quick. Who do you think's going to win? And you can't say Portland because you can't say your own team. Who's going to be the champion this year?
We're going to take the biasness out of it. Vancouver, man, has definitely had a hot streak. I feel like it could be a Denver versus Vancouver so far. And mind you, we still got way more games to go. And there's been so many teams in the past that started off strong, but ended up fizzling out at the end.
Right.
At this current that I think it will be in the championship, it could be Denver versus Vancouver for the championship.
Okay. And who's going to be your surprise team of the season?
So if we're looking at the 0-2 teams, or you want to know like
just a team that maybe nobody think will make the playoffs, will make it, that kind of thing.
I think Fort Worth has a good opportunity to go into it. They're a brother team with us. I don't want to call them a sister team, right? But we both started at the same time, and I think what Steven Hacker, Nacho Sicario, and Robert Garrett doing over there is very impressive, and I think they could do some big things and get themselves in the playoffs.
Okay, awesome. Well, Nelson, first of all, congrats on all your success on the shows. You have an awesome show. I haven't heard the Monday one as much as I've heard the Friday one, but if it's any indication, obviously they're both going to be tremendous going forward. So congrats on all that success. Good luck in the future. Good luck to Portland, unless you play us, which I don't think we do this season.
Nah, this season we don't, but just like I told Ashley and anybody else that play us, it's all respect. If we ever get to play Lone Star, it's going to be all love. You like Jacob says, we're going to make sure you're comfortable, make sure you enjoy your stay in Portland, and we'll get a couple beers in. I know you're a big, butter Chardonnay person as well, so we'll have that.
You know what? So let me clear that up real quick, Nelson. So I drink buttery Chardonnay, but I'm actually more of a cab guy. The whole buttery Chardonnay thing started when Charles did it, I think on the draft, the season 15 draft, I think it was, where he was like swishing his glass around and the buttery Chardonnay stuff started. But that's hilarious. But yeah, we can have some buttery Chardonnay, we can have some cab, we can have some beer, whatever you want, bro.
Yeah, you decide. You're in Texas, so I know Texas is really big on them towers, the beer tower powers, whatever they're called over there in Texas. So we can do that. It's all love, man. Like I tell everybody, it's love until we're on the field, and then even after the field, we'll swap jerseys and still show that respect. That's one thing I take a lot of pride in Portland is you don't see us out here running our mouths trying to be something we're not. We're gonna prove it on the field, and If we lose, we say less. If we win, we say nothing as well. So it's kind of the mentality we have. But our respects to every team. And Dave, if we ever play each other, it's love with you.
I know
Greg
it is.
Soto. I mean, the list, Gunny, like the list will go on and on because you guys have a great squad over there in LSG.
So real quick, I just want to wrap this up. A couple people asked. Ashley reminded me I did have a buttery Chardonnay when I was on her show. Yes, I did. I do remember that.
That was part of the deal.
I think I
Okay.
did. I think I did. I think I did. I don't remember exactly. So real quick, I think Kendra was asking, where can we listen to Nelson's show? So Kendra, on Monday nights from 10 to 11 p.m., he's got his Monday night show called SFL Audible. On Fridays, and Fridays kicks off at 10. Is that right, Nelson?
Yeah, so
Inside
on
the
Fridays
league?
it kicks off at 9. So 9 p.m. Eastern, just because I try to get 2
Oh,
interviewers,
gotcha.
and
Okay.
I try to give them about 45 minutes to an hour. If they do talk a little bit more, and I like to share this now, my podcast, live-wise, will cut off after 2 hours. And then
Okay.
it will go into the podcast segment, which won't be live on air. If it gets to that point, what you can do before the 2-hour time is up is just call in. If you call the number, you can be on the phone. You're not going to make any noise on air. It actually mutes you before, so you can hear everything that's on the air and still be able to enjoy the rest of the content. But it does go 2 hours live, and then if it does go past that, which I try to give everybody the time to speak. Some folks like to speak more than others, but I try to get it within 2 hours of there, and then if it goes past that, then you can hear it by calling in.
I think was that a dig at me there, Nelson?
No.
I
It's
know.
not at all. Right?
Like, real quick, a funny story though. I remember you were like, "Hey, come on my show," blah blah blah. I was like, "Okay, how long do you need me?" And you're like, "About 45 minutes." Dude, we talked 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing too, right?
That's
Like
how it goes.
when you have great shows like that, I never want to cut it off, right?
Right.
Like it's something that it's real. It's like you always said, right? It's unscripted. Like, yes, I have a script that I go through just because I get so involved in the conversation that if we ramble, I have a way of going back. So when I send questions to the guests, just so they know what to kind of expect. Some people like to prepare ahead of time. It's not meant to be a preparation thing. It's just meant to be like where you know what to expect and just have fun with the conversation and actually get lost in the conversation, not so much worrying about what the next question is going to be. And then it gives people who aren't great at public speaking an opportunity to, practice what they want to talk about or do whatever they want to do. So I do that transparency just so everybody's 100% comfortable. I tell people all the time when they're like, "Oh, I'm not so big on being on live air." Don't worry about it, okay? I send you the questions so you know what to expect. There's nothing that's going to be hidden on there, and it's about you. And if you can't talk about you, I completely understand. But the whole point is to just talk about you and the experiences you bring to the league and the person that you bring to the league. So
Awesome, Nelson.
But
awesome.
tell Kendra I could send her a link, and I'll send you a link
Okay.
as well to the Discord after the show.
Yeah. Also, everybody, it also posts in league alerts in the SFL Discord whenever we go on the air. That's everybody. That's Coach Ashley, Tyler, Nelson, myself, everybody. Real quick, Coco in the chat got jokes, right? Wish we had that option for this show when he was talking about get cut off at 2 hours. I'll tell you what, we'll do that next time you're on the panel, Coco. How about that?
All of a sudden, there's going to be malfunction.
Yeah, we'll just cut Coco off every time he starts yapping. Anyway, all right, Nelson, thank you so much for coming on, bro. Love your show. Good luck with it in the future. And for everybody listening, Monday nights and Friday nights. Monday nights at 10, Friday nights at 9. Nelson, thanks again for coming on, bro. Really appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, Dave, man. Everything you do for the league and everything and giving me the opportunity to plug in my show, bro. Thank you. It's all love. All
You
right?
got it. You got it, brother.
Right.
Have a good night, man.
You too. Take care.
See ya. All right, everybody. That's a wrap. Wrap this shindig up right now. Coco, you give me 5 seconds anyway. Well, that's it. I love how Art Vandalay says, "Great show, Dave," with question marks instead of exclamation mark. I guess he doesn't know if it was a great show or not. I guess we'll find out later. Anyway, in any event, thank you to tonight's panelists, Frank the Franchise, Wade, Benji Matson. They both had to take off tonight. Robert Garrett Jr., Tyler, Gunny, as always, Wink for producing the show, Eagle for running the Discord. By the way, the voting has already started. We're not even off the air, and we've got like 30 votes already for Diva of the Week. So get in there, get in the Access Live server, vote for who you think should be season 16 week 2 Diva of the Week. And Winkler's saying, Wink, do I hurt your feelings? I'm so sorry, but I'm not. All right, anyway. All right, so
hurt him terribly.
Yeah, good.
Three times.
I'm doing my job. I'm doing my job.
3 times.
Three times in all these months? That's not too bad,
No,
actually.
just 3 times.
Those are rookie numbers.
3 times last weekend.
Those are rookie numbers. Got to pump those numbers up, baby. All right. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Thank you to everybody in the chat. You know I love you guys. Appreciate all the back and forth, the questions, the comments, the so-called jokes by Coco, that kind of thing. And Bob Funk said, I shared the Diva vote in the Portland locker room. Yeah, I mean, everybody should be doing that, especially if somebody is nominated for Diva of the Week and they're on your team. You guys should be posting that in your locker room. Get those votes in there. And so we'll find out in about 48 hours, a little less than 48 hours, who the Week 2 Diva of the Week is. So in the meantime, you guys have a glorious couple days. Have a glorious, 47 hours, something like that, 46 hours. Enjoy Tyler's show tomorrow. Don't forget about Ashley dropping at 6 p.m. on Thursday. And then we'll see you right here at the Tees, 9 o'clock, Thursday on Twitch. Have a glorious night. We'll see you at the Tees.